And this big relief for YouTuber Beer Biceps. Supreme Court has allowed Ranveer Allahabadia to air his show online. Supreme Court says need to balance decency and morality. Won't impact livelihood of 280 employees is what has been said by the Supreme Court. One accused mocks Supreme Court proceedings in Canada. Supreme Court allows Ranveer Allahabadia to air his show, The Ranveer Show, subject to undertaking that his podcast will maintain the desired standards of decency and morality. Condition modified considering that the livelihood of 280 people employed by him for telecast of his show is likely to be affected. And that's the reason why this has been said by the Supreme Court today. Shrishti is getting in more details on that story. Shrishti, the Supreme Court has taken a humanitarian view of this, saying that this is the question of the employment of 280 people. They could be losing their jobs if the show is not allowed to be on air. And that's the reason why the show must go on.
Well, yes, Neha, on last occasion we saw when the Supreme Court had granted protection, interim protection to Ranveer Allahabadia, it had also imposed a condition from him that restricted him or any of his associates from airing any other show online. Now, we saw his lawyer today request the court. He sought modification of that condition, pointing out that there are multiple, that he's a young person, he earns his livelihood from that particular show, and there are other employees also that he has employed to be able to run his podcast. The court, after a detailed hearing of the arguments, we saw say that the court has permitted him to run his The Ranveer Show. However, that will be subject to an undertaking that he will have to give, which basically will say that his podcast will maintain the desired standards of decency and morality so that viewers of any age can watch, and subject to that undertaking and that condition, he has been permitted to resume his The Ranveer Show. Not just that, court has clarified that no program, his podcast cannot have any direct or indirect bearing on proceedings on the ongoing case, which basically means that he cannot discuss or talk about the ongoing proceedings of the case against him in this podcast. The court said this while also remarking that there's one of the co-accused, one of the comedians involved in this case, has gone to Canada and made a remark about the ongoing case there. So the court also, without naming the person, took a strong objection to such a remark being made about the case, saying that these youngsters are oversmart and they're not taking, they don't understand what jurisdiction the court has. So definitely a relief that has come in from Supreme Court for Ranveer Allahabadia. On the other hand, we've also seen the court ask the Union of India to come up with a regulatory mechanism with regard to online content and airing and telecast of these programs. So
Shrishti Oja getting in those details as far as the Supreme Court's order on Ranveer Allahabadia and for airing his show is concerned.